welcome to the episode of Front Night Live. I am back. I am alive. I was overseas.
My God.
Before I start tonight, I want to thank these beautiful gentlemen for looking after the show, and you guys did a fantastic job. In fact, your format of asking questions was amazing. I absolutely loved it, enjoyed it. Hope you guys did too. Now, without further delay, today we're going to be talking about Australia towards 2031. Something that Sean really emphasizes on is buyer behavior, because anything we buy, real estate, anything, is people are going to live in it. People like it or they don't like it, and people's preferences have changed and budgets have changed, so on and so forth. So today we're going to be talking about buyer behavior. I've got some really interesting questions for you guys, and we will see if Australia agrees with you or not. Producer Ryan, if you can just switch to my iPad, I've got an incredible report.
Wow.
Incredible report where I was sharing some cool facts. So before we get started, let me share this with you. Percentage of households where a non-English language is spoken is 22% in Australia, 27% in New South Wales, 38% in Sydney, and 56% in Sydney CBD. So
Wow.
we are seeing a massive, massive change. The other fact that is coming around is, Sean, and you talk about this a lot, about an aging population, not enough properties for downsizers, smaller style of properties, single level properties that appeal to both beginners and downsizers. In 1971, the median age in this country was 27. 83 was 30. 1990, we were sitting at 35. 2010, 37. 2031, the median age in this country is going to be 39.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Right?
Signs of a changing time.
And I've got a lot of awesome facts that I will share with you today. But before we get into it, the number one thing that we focus on is helping people create wealth through real estate. And that's no surprise. So Sean, without further delay, I've got a few questions for you. Right?
Sure. Fantastic. Yeah. Let's get
You
into
have
it.
been through pre-COVID times, COVID times, and post-COVID times. And we've seen various types of trends in properties and buyer behavior in the marketplace. But my first question to you, Sean, is this. What trends of property have you seen over the last 2 or 3 years, so just before COVID, through COVID and now, that you think will stay? The type of property.
Well, Kesh, first of all, I'm so glad that you're back, because Friday Night Live did not feel like it was without you here, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, Paulina, can we get a quick round of mini applause for our boy?
Very kind.
Kesh?
Very, very kind.
Thank you. So, what trends will we see that are going to be here to stay? Well, let's dissect this for a moment. So, if we're being completely honest, what I really feel is that COVID threw a curveball to the Australian property market that was commonly known as analysis paralysis, or commonly better known as over-analysis paralysis. So, if we're really going to dissect this for our audience tonight,
Yes.
and say that, okay, what are the trends that are going to stick? Well, it's about covering your back end. When I say covering your back end, covering your worst case as a property investor. So covering your worst case as a property investor might be, for example, things like, okay, if I get into a market where the average rental demand for the area is $400 a week for a 422 or a 322, I should be buying in that market if a $375 a week income allowance allows me to afford that asset at my worst case. So in terms of trends of buyer behavior that we're going to notice stand the test of time is, I'm not talking about our friend who is a, what's the name we use for our friend?
Oh, yeah.
We have a
Excuses.
Mr. Excuses, yeah,
Yes.
correct. So yeah, exactly. So if Mr. Excuses decides to stay on the fence in today's market,
Still get splinters in his ass.
he will get splinters in his ass. And the only way he gets splinters in his ass is because he will decide that if I am not getting the market rent that I deserve, I should not be an investor. That's the wrong approach to take.
Market rent since pre-COVID to now has almost doubled.
Gentlemen, I'll tell you something about something funny. Every morning we run a huddle first thing in the morning, which is about what are the crises we have to solve, what are we going to accomplish. You both are top 1% in your field for what you do on a day-to-day
Very kind.
perspective. Let's be honest. No. You say let's be kind, but let's be honest. These two gentlemen here are top 1% in their field, respectively. So we decide, okay, let's solve this. And you know what, the best learning for me was personally, pretty sure, Ryan, if you want to put it on me, because I want to be really candid with the audience here for a moment, is today I had to put on the boots of being a builder. I had to go to a site to do a handover. And me personally, my personality is someone who likes being in the boardroom. I like being comfortable in my numbers. I like being a strategist in the true sense of the word, which is cover your worst end, plan as if you are aiming for the best, as if you're aiming for the best results, but be prepared for the worst case. And you know what's funny? I went to a handover this morning, first thing in the morning. I went all the way out to some godforsaken land, and I met my clients who came from a good suburb, who had to buy in a B+ suburb that is now today an A- suburb. And I said, guys, when I did the planning for you, my rental estimate for your asset was $530 a week.
Can you please give them timeline? Because I know the timeline.
2020 December.
2020 December. $500 a week.
I said $530 a week.
Worst case.
Worst case. Mm-hmm. We are now in 2022 August, let's say. 2022 August, I said, okay, even if you would have achieved $530 a week, your rental yield would have been enough to cover your worst case if the interest rates were 4.5%, which today, ladies and gentlemen, they're not 4.5% yet. Guess what the property manager who was on the site today during the champagne handover told me that the expected annual rent was going to be per week.
So 530. So I'm assuming 590.
$645 per week. Paulina, hit us up with that little ting ting. Next question, let's go, baby. We're ready to rock and roll.
But that's true. We are seeing rents absolutely go through the roof. Now, speaking of rents, Sean, I've got another question for you. From a tenant's perspective, right? We always talk about primary markets and secondary markets and people rent vesting and so on and so forth.
Sure.
Is there a certain preference, a certain style, certain interior of a property that tenants expect? Because right now, as interest rates are rising, I'm not too concerned about making repayments, but servicing calculators are changing. So people are being forced to rent.
Correct.
Now, not all properties are rentable.
Correct.
Now, when you talk about primary, secondary markets, won't go into too much detail, but is there a particular style of property that people want to live in? What sort of bench tops do they want? What sort of bathrooms do they want?
The funny thing is, Kesh, you're asking me this question, but in reality, you're the best person equipped to answer this question because you have the perfect formula when it comes to things like third place dynamics, new money aesthetics, old money aesthetics, so forth, so on. So without getting into too much detail, Kesh, let's be honest. In the 1980s and in the early 1990s, the traditional Sydney house was a how many bedroom house, Mr. Fitzroy? Two. And that's the answer. Now, will that 2-bedroom house today serve the purpose of a mother and father who have 2 children who want to work from home 3 days a week? Will that 2-bedroom house serve the purpose for what they're trying to achieve from a lifestyle perspective? The answer is no.
Yep.
So if the answer is no, then what sort of house allows that predicament to occur? Which is a 4-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage house or a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage house with a study. So, long story short, yes, you're absolutely right. The aesthetics of the house in terms of the physical appearance, it appears to be mattering a lot more today than it did pre-pandemic. So post-pandemic, the world that we live in is super different. And as long as you're matching the sort of asset that you want to be putting in place for a future possibility of a tenant, as long as you match it with what's called new money aesthetics, you will be in a equipped enough position.
I love how we love these terms. Yes.
Well, no. You love these terms, and we have no choice but to abide by them. So that's the reality of the situation at Friday Night Live.
Producer Ryan, if you could just switch to my iPad for a second. Let me just ask the audience this very quickly. Which bathroom would you like to shower in every single day?
Oh my goodness, Cash! Don't do that to the audience.
The pink and nasty?
Oh, the pink and nasty.
We love the pink and nasty.
Oh, that one. And that's what Sean's talking about. So people, when they're being forced to rent, the beautiful thing about renting is that people have a choice to live wherever, and they have a budget. But they want to live in places that aesthetically work for them. If it's not their own place, there's no reason for them to compromise. Now, anything you see, Sean, that is going to be changing in properties over the next 5 years? Any trends that you start to see changing, or you think consistently people are going to continue to live the way they're living right now? No trend changes that are coming. I personally don't see it because I think COVID pushed a lot of things that have become the new normal. Mm-hmm. With people's preferences of having home offices over large backyards. Correct. Or having media rooms over those sort of things, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So do you see any changes that are coming about?
Yeah, Good question, Kesh. So what I'm seeing have much less of a prevalence of in today's society is the need for unnecessary backyard space. So what I'm saying, unnecessary backyard space, someone who's done very successful in this economy over the past 20 years, you know him as well, we all do, Jonathan Fitzgerald, spoke about, there is two things that's paying you from your investment. There's the house in the form of its depreciation and tax benefits, and there's the house in the form of its rental income.
Yep.
So picking up a 900 block of land
With an old Sydney 1980s home.
with a 2-bedroom home is not going to yield you a rent of a 4-bedroom home with a smaller block in that same suburb.
Facts.
That's the change that I see. So the change is, I see more of a change in the investment into the living dynamics instead of the investment into the land size equation for land size. Because land is not valued at what its size is. Land is valued at what its value is. So if you at home want to do a quick example of this, I'll tell you what.
We can do that
We're
now.
told, no, well, yeah, we'll do it right now. So, you know what, I love that. Let's do it right now. So,
What do you want me to do?
we are told,
Realestate.com?
correct, realestate.com, recently sold Lakemba, recently sold North Kellyville.
Okay, so
Let's
let's
do
go
it right now.
Lakemba. Let's go here. Hit this. Is there someone calling in?
Yeah, there is. So we'll get to the calls in a moment. But anyway, so going back to the crux of the question here is,
Okay, so can you
the
show
basic
us?
myth that people are told when it comes to investment real estate is that there's 3 magic words that
So should I
need to
pick
be
that one?
abided by. Yeah, anything. No, freestanding house. Yeah, correct.
freestanding
Yeah.
house.
So there's three words that we are told from a constant basis, which we need to adhere to as investors, which is location, and guess what, Mark? How about you tell us what the third word is?
Location.
Correct. He's absolutely right. So he said it maybe in some Spanish or an Ecuadorian or a Uruguayan accent, but it is right. Location. Now, the comparison between a North Kellyville versus a Lakemba house, location-wise, is worlds apart. Lakemba is 20 minutes from the Sydney CBD, is 20 minutes from Brighton Sands Beach, and is 17 minutes away from the international airport. If someone were to ever compare North Kellyville to Lakemba, which North Kellyville does not have a train station.
I'm not cooking in that kitchen, respectfully.
Well, hey, don't dodge it, because that kitchen looks exactly like one of my Perth kitchens right now. But hey, guess what? That's an old property for cash flow, which is what I needed at the time. But anyway, so if you want to just bring up a like-for-like land size versus a like-for-like house size in North Kellyville versus Lakemba,
That's
really
a 493 meter square block.
correct.
For 1 and 1.
Correct.
In Lakemba, that just sold for 1.1 million. And when you go North Kellyville, let's see if that wants to load up. That okay, maybe not that one. That was very, very nice.
Freestanding house would be right.
Yeah. So that's a. Let me find a single level one, mate. Like everything's 1.8 million. Okay, 456 meter square block, 4 2 and 2, $1.62 million.
What?
It's not that nice either, but it's not Kellyville. Rep the hills. Yep. So there's almost a $500,000 difference in the property price. Obviously, this one's
For the same size and type of house. And
very similar.
And that begs the question. So the question that's being begged here is, what are the micro demographics that the marketplace is willing to pay for to get access to the similar type of property, regardless of location?
Yeah.
And if that is understood to a high level, Australians for the future will really realise that where they're making the money is not in the 3 big words, which was location. Of course, we're not talking about boutique apartments that overlook the ocean.
Yeah.
We're talking about, assets that families. So there's a set of macro demographics that need to be followed, which is affordability, population growth, investment, infrastructure, and employability. And there's a set of micro demographics that have to be followed as well, which is what is the owner-occupier ratio versus the renter ratio? What is the median rental yield? Is it at a healthy rental yield variation?
And lifestyle requirements, third place that we're talking about. Producer
Absolutely
Ryan,
right.
if you
Absolutely right.
speaking of which, you're actually in line with how Australians think, funnily enough. And guys, honestly, I didn't share this report or anything with Sean previous to this, and I was just asking a question to see if he's in line with the market as a little bit of a test. Producer Ryan, if you want to go to the iPad, funny you say that, 62. So this report has asked Australians, 62% of people say they want a work-life balance and they prefer a hybrid working environment. Now, these people are the people that are driving the North Kellyvilles, don't care that Lakemba's 20 minutes away from the city.
Correct.
These are the people who drove the Box Hill movement, the Marsden Park movement, the Oran Park movement, the emerging land market movements that were driven to that. Now, Mark, coming to you, I've got a few questions for you, mate. Like, we call you empathetic Mark. Coming back to Mark Fattori. And I can see that, you know, there's a massive change that happened during COVID. People were forced to work from home. Australians just have said that they would love to work from home. Now, I've got a question for you. Work and work culture got drastically changed during the COVID times. You speak to a lot of people, and most people that you speak to, is there a large emphasis? Do you see a large portion of them now, especially the professionals, the IT professionals, the finance professionals, working more from home, and they're preferring that as well with your clients?
Yeah, we certainly see quite a lot of that.
Because I can see you have a lot of afternoon appointments and morning appointments.
There
like the
is,
people are working from
Look,
home.
there is. I guess from I guess what I've seen in, let's say, the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because I think the last couple of years has certainly been a determining factor on what exactly is probably what the world will shape up to be over the next 10 years. Is there is a lot more of a hybrid work style, we'll call it, or work-life balance. But I think as well, something I've actually come across in the last probably 3 months alone is COVID is now, or let's say COVID-19 is, we're going through a COVID hangover.
Mm-hmm.
I like to classify it as that because now we are in that post-COVID period. There's a lot of builders going bust, right? There's a lot of, I guess, financial pressure, left, right and centre for people, whether it be from the banks and the raising interest rates or whether it be from the cost of living. It's all a hangover of where we should have been 2 years ago, or where we should have been, you know, let's say, you know what, 2 years ago is probably the right way to put it, because 6 months after it kicked off. But it never happened because we went into that survival mode straight away as a government, and we said,
quantitative easing. Let's print money, let's save people, stop your mortgages.
Of course, but apart from the quantitative easing, well, let's say the printing of money, let's call it, there was also the incentivization of
100%.
getting real estate up and running. What was it, the builder grant? I think.
Yeah, the first home buyer grant, the builder grant, this grant, that grant.
There was a lot of grants that were just
stamp duty exemptions
in order to get people excited and to say, hey, let's take advantage.
Rejig the economy.
And it did what it needed to do, and that was fantastic. Now I know there's been some outside factors that we can't control. There's been some outside factors that we can't control, such as what's happened overseas, things like that. Tightening of markets. Yes, the COVID situation of there's a delay. It's like, how long is this excuse going to go for? But as well, I think there was, personally speaking, I think there was a lot of, there was just I don't know how you would put this, but an excuse used by everyone. We'll push it back. We've got this COVID excuse. People are still using it today. I think you can't be using it.
Speaking of pushing something back, and I digress here a little bit, but you made me think of something when you said builders going. So the people who are talking about, how people look at factors and think, like when COVID happened, people thought the world's going to come to shit, right? Now interest rates going up and builders going bust, they think real estate's going to massively correct. The reality is the correction will happen out of affordability. But now wages will soon start to change as it does post-inflation, because we are at the lowest unemployment rate. We have a skill shortage, and we can see migration open up. Now what's happening is everyone's employed who wants to work, essentially. Who doesn't want to work, well, not part of the economy anyway. And now they're opening up the borders drastically because they want to bring skilled people to grow businesses. Builders going bust, that means there's not enough properties being produced. This is again creating that pressure. First, the pressure was built up from grants. Now the pressure is going to be built up purely out of demand. There is no, mate, people, friends and family who've been looking for rental properties, and there's none out there. The only ones that are on the market that no one wants to rent, the dirty pink bathroom. Do you get what I mean? Yeah, so you're absolutely right. This is a hangover, and what we're seeing in the market right now, people should actually be, this is that moment, the next 24 months, where they should, if you've been on the fence, this is when you actually get out there and start making some moves. And I was speaking to someone about this, and I showed them that the 15,000 plus suburbs, and yes, some are going through a correction, and I personally think they're really overvalued for what they are. but there's some places that went up 24% over the last quarter, despite interest rate rises, despite everything. And Sean has a really good example about this, where he goes, if this property is worth this much, would you buy it? And, you know, so on and so forth. But you're right. You're right. Like, this is that post-COVID hangover thing.
It is. And how long will it last for? Who knows? I think, it's something that
Mate,
none of
but
us can control.
what's making me nervous for people who aren't in the market? Like, if you're in the market, mate, hold on tight. This phase will pass. You're only going to come out the other side stronger, better. If you can, buy some more. But the reality is, if you aren't in the market, and you think that, I was going to wait for a correction, even if the correction occurs, but servicing calculators have been changed. Say a $1.6 million property selling for 1.4 tomorrow. What are you going to do about it? You don't service that loan anyway.
Yep.
When it was $900,000, you should have bought it. And even now, if you think, I can't buy in this suburb, I can't buy in Sydney anymore, respectfully, you're an idiot. Find another pocket to do it. Mate, absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, anything you see changing in the style of properties people would like to live in the next 5 years?
I think there's going to be a downsize across the board. We
I think so too. We can see that
in
trend.
regards to,
We do, yeah.
you know,
My in-laws
old
just
generation,
downsized.
but I think
Yeah.
They
everyone's
downsized, but they downsized to an affluent suburb, which is the whole metric behind getting to a good area.
They wanted a
for growth.
single-level home,
And they
smaller home, but in an affluent pocket.
Correct.
We don't need 500 square meters with 250 of it being
my-
backyard.
My
Yeah.
father-in-law
Spot on.
would he refused to mow the lawn. So he's like, "Are you
Yeah.
nuts? You
Yeah.
come and do it."
Yeah, well, and you would have probably said like, no, I have like
But
10,000
I wanted him to get
clients
the
serve, so
900.
I can't do it. So
Well,
you'd have said, I ain't gonna do it, but maybe I'll organise for somebody to do it.
We don't
Which
get our
is-
hands dirty up in here.
That's right, no, we don't. Well, I did this morning, which was really tragic, but okay, I'm very, very blessed that I got.
But you're
the
right.
chance
So you think there'll be a large emphasis? There's some focus that people should be putting on getting. Oh my God, this table on downsizer properties.
Oh, Paulina,
Yeah,
how about you add some
I
effect on that?
certainly do. I think it's what we're going to see in the future.
Are you seeing this conversation happen in
let's,
family?
Let's look at all these blocks. I think we spoke about it maybe last time, you and
Right.
I, or maybe we did. Maybe we spoke to someone offline, let's say. But there's a lot of okay. I'm going to use the suburb Kingsgrove as an example.
Mhm.
Sydney.
Of course, you're going to use.
Of course, I'm
Kingsgrove.
going to use that, but the same way that everyone else uses the hills. So you know what?
Everyone else uses the hills. Catch and Sean.
I represent Southwest. But anyway, what happens here?
Well, you're talking about the
Northwest,
inner southwest or the extreme? Because you know what southwest is to me and Cash? Harrington Park. Orange Park.
No.
He's
I'm
talking about the
the
original
old-
Southwest.
He's talking about the southwest,
So,
which is
if we're
Kingsgrove,
gonna go toe to
Bexley,
toe, then let's
North.
do that.
All right, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Kingsgrove. I'm just going to use it as an example.
Sure.
You have blocks of dirt, or let's say houses that are again sitting on a 500-600.
If they're the
square metre block,
1980s, they're just
Correct.
blocks of dirt.
and you've got a house that's less than 150 squares,
Correct.
maybe 170
151.
squares.
No, 151.
That's a
squares.
triple car garage at best.
You got a big backyard.
Yep.
How many of these are now being turned into providing the frontages there into duplexes? But then the duplexes are
About
being,
3 and 30.
The duplexes
Especially
are being
in the
sold
area.
for what the development site is being sold for. I mean, that's how obviously you're going to make money as well, is if you're
Yep.
buying a site and then obviously you're
Pay for the duplex.
paying it for one,
Yep.
right? Call it. But when you look at that, we think, okay, the land over there is scarce, hence why, to a degree it's going up. But the same thing is going to be happening in these areas, let's say, as let's just use Box Hill as an example,
Sure.
right? Where we know that in some parts of it you were picking up blocks of about 400 squares. There is no doubt in the next 20, 30 years, let's say, government or councils.
It's already happened. 250.
Well, that's right. They're going to say, we need to split this down again.
Mm-hmm.
We can't live in Lithgow and work in the CBD.
Right.
We can't live in the Central Coast, continuing to spread out there. Let's
And
say.
a lot of people talk
move to
about,
CBD.
mate, you've got a very good point there, because a lot of people talk about, the new city is going to come here. Parramatta has been the next CBD for the last 500 years.
Yeah.
It's still under
So
construction.
true, so true.
So-
Couldn't agree
so
more.
it's a bit of exaggeration, but you
But
gotta
now it's actually becoming one in the next 5 years.
But it'll take 20 years
Yeah.
for it to look like what Sydney
of
CBD looks
course.
like today.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't care what the
But-
vision
but
board
with all of
says
that
and what the
said,
New
with-
South
with
Wales
all of
government
that
says.
You know what's funny? Whatever vision board they set up for Walker Square up there, ladies and gentlemen, is actually come to reality better than the vision board.
hang
But
on,
that's only
Sydney,
Walker.
Sydney
That's that,
CBD
no?
continues to expand. You've
It
got
does.
the tech precinct.
Yeah.
Right? You've got Atlassian that are building building next to
Can we not
Civilization.
talk about Atlassian
No,
right
but
now?
hang on, hear me out
Yeah.
for a second. What I'm trying to say is, while everyone thinks, we're going to be working from home forever, Atlassian might believe in that
Yep.
right now. But then, is that going to change?
No, they
when
won't,
all of
because
a sudden-
Meriton's humble leader doesn't believe in that. And neither does CBA's. What, you forgot Meriton's humble leader?
I'm nothing. I'm nothing.
None
to
of them
say
believe
right
in it. And
now.
you know what's funny? You've brought on board recently. Real talk. Disclaimer, real talk. Okay.
We did
disclaimer.
only Divin can say real talk.
Oh, no. Divian and a couple of like 12-year-olds
One
at
of
the
boy
bar.
bands
So,
around here, yeah.
so real discussion time. All right. So
Truthful discussion.
truthful discussion time. So
Yes, thy gents.
yes, digest. So discussing. What were we talking about?
Oh my God! I don't even know what we're discussing here. We're talking about Atlassian building the
Atlassian,
civic.
and
so what we're talking
and why-
about?
Yeah, I got it. Calm down. So, you've brought on board a great quality of people right now that are in charge, that are in quality of
Yeah.
people right now
Yeah.
that are in charge of managing teams.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with them going, okay, so be honest with me, right? So you're managing teams and so forth, so on, and they've openly told me that the shift from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic has begun 3 months ago, where the work from home craze that started, that influenced people to prove that they would work hard for a month and pretend that they would be online, has changed, where they want people back to face.
Oh yeah.
At least not
Hybrid
from a
is here to stay.
client-facing perspective, but
No,
from
internal.
a team-facing perspective.
Culture.
Because culture building, going up to making a coffee and figuring out, hey, I can do this better. But guess what? I didn't have to book in a meeting for my friend to meet me at the coffee machine to help me how to learn this better.
Yeah.
I just had to have it as corridor
That's straight
conversation. So
That's what we come to work
culture-wise,
here.
and we love the office. I'm here every single day. Because I want to be. Regardless of the fact that I can't focus at home, is a different story. But I love being here because, yeah, sure, I get the chance to have corridor conversations going. I want to hear the emotional side of what's holding you back at work.
Yep.
We don't need minutes-based meetings to schedule
Yep.
time aside to go, let's keep everything action item based. No.
Yeah, you can't just
You
live
need-
like that.
And
Straight up.
our founder, who's our humble leader, Jack, and myself found out that the dangers of over-automizing a business are a very real threat in today's society.
Because there's no connection with the customer,
There's no connection with the customer.
or the employees, or the teams, or anyone.
And if that is managed the right way, finding perfection is a lifelong struggle.
But that's what I'm saying. So 62%. That's what they're saying. They want hybrid. Hybrid, as in couple of days at work, couple of days at home, so they get that interaction. They can see people face to. Bro, we're social people.
Correct.
We like being at home in front of the computer
yeah.
all the time, 7 days a week. No matter how much money you're making, what work-life balance you have,
Yeah.
eventually you'll get sick of it.
True.
You can have a $300 coffee, but if you grab it yourself every day and you don't have a mate to talk to, it's rubbish. That
Unless your cappuccino's really good to speak to on a day-to-day
is,
basis,
it
right?
is.
Or your barista.
Now, coming
Which
back.
I don't mind. Yeah,
Coming back.
yeah.
We're digressing into topics that should be Friday night, late night. Now, coming back. Okay, last question for you guys before we wrap up. Okay.
Before the rapid round robins, of course.
Before, yeah. This like podcast related question, right? Do you think people moving towards 2032 are gonna live longer or less than 2019?
Say that again. Hang on.
So
That's a very easy question to comprehend. Can you just repeat it for this guy,
So-
please?
please.
So,
Please.
I speak no English. No, 2019
Yeah. Yeah.
is when people's average life expectancy was
yeah,
an X number.
Yeah.
But 2032, do you think it'll go
Okay,
up or
yeah.
down?
Alright, got you then. Okay. I think it's going to go up.
It's gonna go up. Okay, Sean.
He thinks it's going to go up as well. He just doesn't want to say it.
Sean's just quiet, looking off. Can we?
I think it's going to go down, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, of course.
Okay, let's go back to the iPad. So,
I think it's gonna go
2019,
down. I have my reasons.
2019, the average life expectancy for a male was 80 years old, 81, 80.9. For a female was 85, so women live longer than men in Australia. And 83. And for females, it was 85 in 2019.
Yep.
And in 2031 is going to be 86.5. So there's almost, well, actually, men's life expectancy is drastically increased compared to 2019 compared to women.
They're probably divorced.
Can we Please edit that. Last, coming back to this.
Don't edit that. Leave that.
No.
They need to know.
We've got to bleep.
They do. We're not going to get cancelled because we did not openly say we're affiliated with a group. We didn't. We just said what we thought was appropriate at the moment.
Now, final question. Number one regret Australians have. Number one regret.
I can tell you mine from speaking to many Australians over the many years. Number one regret, if you want to just, number one regret, ladies and gentlemen, that I have spoken to with many Australians over the years was,
Yes.
I wish I bought property earlier.
Fair enough. Okay.
That's what I've heard. Okay.
All right, Mark, to you. Number one regret Australians have.
That's actually a really good one, to be honest, Sean. But
Yeah, you can't take my one now. So
no, I
it's
won't.
yeah.
Couldn't get a rollie when they were $8,000.
Yeah, no, look, I think everyone's biggest regret is always doing something from a financial perspective. So basically, on the back of what Sean is saying, it's just more of an extended answer, but it's true. Everyone always whinges about that. No one ever says, we're
locking this in.
Or I should have done this harder. They say, I did work hard, but I should have invested my money.
Okay, we're locking in this answer.
100%.
Certain.
That was my one. Was for
Okay.
sure. I wish I bought property earlier.
Okay. Going back, what do Australians say? Number one regret, the number one financial regret of Australians is not prioritizing their financial health earlier in their life.
That's a baseline situation.
You got to understand, most Australians do not have saved up for a rainy day. Okay, and I want you to read this.
Mm-hmm.
More than half of 53% of Australians have less than $5,000 in their savings account right now.
What?
For fifth of Australians, 22% of financial position is even more precarious, with less than $100 in their savings right now.
Wow. That is eye-opening.
So now, the reason I asked you about the age, and the reason I asked this question, there was some sense in it. You're going to live longer, and you're going to live poorer, and with more population, the economy is going to have more complex problems, right? I don't know if the pension will remain or not. What is stopping us from repeating what happened in America when we sit at 400 million people? What is going to make you feel like you're actually going to be able to pay off your mortgage?
Great Southland.
Right? When people were making $1,000 in extra repayments every month thought, I'm paying off my mortgage faster, and $1,000 in extra repayment is minimum repayments with higher interest rates. So what happened to that plan? Right? And there was some reason.
Well, it got taken out the backyard.
It did.
Yeah.
And that's why the number one regret, and we don't joke about sitting on the fence. You can make excuses or you can make money.
Of
right?
course.
And of course, love, family, everything is very important. Right? So I ask people, what are your goals? And speaking of what you guys said about the financial regret,
Getting
right?
you about 2 Stellas before you leave this place in the next.
Absolutely, we will have some.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I tell them, please don't tell me these 3 things. And they go, what? I go, you want to be good looking, you want to be rich, and you want to be loved.
Why do I feel like we're so lucky in this room, 4 of us?
But it's true, right? I said, but what does it really mean? And you know what the basic, a lot of them with children, they say, I really want my kids to be in a different position than I am, at least help them with their deposits. A lot of them say, I wish I can help my children to pay off the HECS debt. Some of them say, I've got siblings that I wish I was in a position to help. And often you hear these answers from people who are a little bit ticking over that mid-40 mark. But this realization is not there to the 30 to 35-year-old. And what you were saying and what we just saw, what most Australians say, the number one regret is, not looking after their financial health is, guys, whether it's real estate, whether it's shares, whether it's putting money under your pillow, dumb idea, but whatever. Please be very, very conscious about your day-to-day financial situation, your financial health. And if you don't understand what to do, please seek help. Right? There's moneysmart.com.au, which is a free government website which you can visit.
Our finance brokers love using that tool to share with clients
absolutely,
all the time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They got a great budgeting tool. If you want to know how to actually take it to the next level, come and talk to us.
Yeah, talk to either Kesh, who's Money Maestro. Talk to either Mark, who's a Money Triple Maestro.
Just please. It is not that scary. It's not that complex. we want to make sure if you're watching this, don't make this your number one regret, because if you don't do anything, nothing's going to magically change. And the way the economy is going and your post-hangover stuff, cost of living is going up, construction disruption, largest unemployment rate, biggest unemployment rate in the history, but no wage growth. So we're in a very complex economy right now. So don't take this for granted. Don't piss away your money on buying Teslas, as someone just did today and killed their servicing.
Someone did that, but you know what's funny? We've also got clients that are like renting Teslas out for great profit per month, which we know about. If you're doing it the right way, it always goes back to this one statement, which is it depends on your strategy.
100%.
So have a strategy, which is leading into what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please be very clear about what your next step should be. And earning money is one part of it. Everyone can earn money. A monkey can earn money. But being able to utilize that money takes talent. It's a skill. It's an art, right? Like the gentleman you were talking about, Mr. Triggerbuff, however you would say his name. This man is the largest unit holder in Australia and has made him a billionaire, right? So there's no right or wrong. The strategy is there. Now, before we wrap up, Sean, your famous Rapid Robins.
Paulina, can we get a drum roller? So, ladies and gentlemen, because it has just been these three handsome, successful, and blessed faces that the camera sees all loved. See, yeah, loved. Yeah, I mean, we're loved by you.
We're gonna
God
get
and
producer
our
Ryan in front of the
significant
camera.
others. I wanted to ask a set of rapid round robins, which was very interesting. So, I want to start with Mark first. Sorry, Kesh first, because you're back. Within 3 seconds, you got to answer this question. In one word, how would you describe for our audience producer Ryan? Go.
Handsome.
3, 2, handsome. You. 3, 2,
Irish.
3, 2, 1. Nice.
He's very nice.
So we'll figure it out whenever they get to see him.
Handsome
So
Irish,
if you're
nice.
into handsome
nice,
Irish guys,
man.
contact us today.
His
At team@jrprosperity.com.au.
We've got producer Ryan /Only Lands.
Alright, thank you. How about you wrap up the show for us, Kesh?
Ladies and gentlemen, this was Friday Night Live. My name is Kesh. I got Mark Vittori and Sean. Thank you for watching.
Yeah,
Until
the
next
boys.
time.
Until
Bye for now.
now.